everyone, thanks so much for stopping by and welcome back to another episode of Retro Game Haul, where I take you through some of the collectibles and video games that I pick up in my travels and tell you a little bit about them for those not in the know. I mentioned last time that there's a store locally to me that deals in used books, used games, used movies, comic books, all that kind of thing. And I stop in there from time to time just to kind of check out their inventory and see what they've got in stock. And this most recent time that I was in there, man, they had a ton of stuff for dirt cheap, and these were a lot of things that I didn't own in my personal collection. No real, gems, diamonds in the rough or anything like that. I didn't get the Flintstones for NES for like $1 or anything, but just a few that I didn't have that I think I've got a really great deal on when you compare it to your prices online, eBay, secondary markets, things like that. I think I got a pretty awesome steal. I didn't really spend all that much money. I got out of there, I think, for under 20 bucks. But I got quite a bit, I think, for my money. So we're going to start out with a little item that I actually missed when I walked right in the store. It was in the front display case, and I actually got it when I had picked up the other things, and I was on my way out, and I saw it, and I ran back and bought it. This, I believe, is the Quick Shot 7 little joystick for the NES. Was made, according to the bottom of this, it's manufactured in Hong Kong for Radio Shack. See, back then, pretty much everybody was making accessories for Nintendo. You know, Radio Shack had them, Sears had them. Just everybody. Any of you remember Montgomery Ward or Best Products? You know, they all had their kind of Nintendo exclusives. And this is just your basic joystick, but what its claim to fame, I guess, would be is it's got suction cups on the bottom. So you stick it to your coffee table or whatnot, it doesn't move. And it's actually pretty strong suction cups. When I was going up there to buy it, the cash register is actually in front of the display case. The guy was having trouble getting it off the display case, so he kind of had to slide it back and pull it off. So I thought that was kind of funny. I was sitting there chuckling at that, but pretty cool. It does work. All the triggers, all the buttons. It's got select, start, turbo, all the usual stuff on it. Picked this little guy up for $5. Not a huge steal at that price, but still better than you can do on eBay. The cheapest I found on eBay is about 10 shipped. So I basically got it for free shipping when you think about it that way. So just really cool. Would be really fun in the flight sim games for the NES. So good stuff. Okay, now on to the games. I got 3. Let me get these NES games. First one, just as an FYI, guys, if you look at the label on this one, you see the little price tag thing that I'm working on peeling off. I've almost got it off. I'm just going to put some rubbing alcohol to it. I did have a conversation with the owner of the store about this, and she was nice. She apologized for it, and said that they certainly try not to do that. And it does happen very rarely. I don't normally see them putting their price tags right on the label. And I explained to her, I'm like, look, if that's the easiest way to scare customers like me off is when you do that and you deface the label, basically, you're devaluing the item. And it's such an easy thing to avoid because there's so many other places on this cartridge you can put it, all these areas of plastic, you can stick it on there. If you do it on there and you get a little residue, you can take that off really easy without harming the label and without discoloring the plastic. So again, she apologized. She was really cool about it. It wasn't a big deal. She said most of her employees are actually collectors, so they take it pretty seriously. But I got Othello here for $1, which I think is pretty good. Way cheaper than you can find it online. Not a great game, but hey, rounding out the collection here, right? Okay, and next we have Jaws. Not a great game by any stretch of the imagination, but really a cool one, kind of a nostalgic one, sort of like the original Ninja Turtles game. Not a great game, but it kind of takes me back. It's kind of fun. I never actually beat this one, came really close, and I almost want to give it a go again and just see if I can beat it this time. So really cool stuff. This one was $3. Then we have Iron Sword, and if you'll note on the front, I believe that is Fabio, the famous model from the 80s, standing in for the hero, even though the hero in the game looks nothing like that. This is the sequel to Wizards and Warriors, so it says right there, Wizards and Warriors 2. He's wearing a full suit of armor, and he never looks like Conan, the Italian Fabio model. That never happens in the game, so I don't know why they did that, but hey, whatever, it looks cool, it's a cool cover. This one was only $1. So really cool stuff. And this is actually a pretty decent game. If any of you have ever played the Wizards and Warriors series, it's actually really fun. Okay, now we will move on to the Super Nintendo games. This one I think I got for a really good deal. We got Mario Paint. Unfortunately, they didn't have the mouse. I did ask for them. You can't get that online. This one was only $1. And for a Mario game for $1, I think that's a really good deal. I'm going to work on getting the mouse. Pretty much because that's the only way that you can use the game effectively, at least. So really cool stuff. Not for those of you who haven't played this one, it's not really a competitive game. It's basically you draw, and that's it. And I think you can make animations and stuff like that. Just little things, little like miniature cartoons and things. But for only $1 for a little piece of Nintendo history right there, I said, why not, right? Okay, and then we got Lethal Enforcers, the first one for Super Nintendo. Again, they did not have the light gun, but you can pick those up. I do have the light gun for the Sega Genesis, and I've got Lethal Enforcers on CD for that, but I'm going to work on getting them for Super Nintendo. Really awesome arcade game for any of you who missed this in the early 90s, I think. Really, really cool. The guns look like Dirty Harry's 44 Magnum. If you look on the cover there, it's got like the big Magnum gun on it. Really, really cool. It used real capture video, like real live actors and stuff like that, almost like Mortal Kombat. And it was just a two-player kind of shooter game. It was really, really fun in the arcade. And for $1 that I paid for this, I think I got a pretty good deal. Then we got one that I actually already have for the NES, but I don't have it for Super Nintendo until now. Tetris 2, really, really cool. Two-player. This is the two-player version, if I remember correctly. And really, really fun, play against somebody. It's really cool. It's a really fun competitive game. My sister and I actually used to play Tetris against each other with our Game Boys and a little connect a cable and stuff like that, because it was the only game that we could play two-player on Game Boy. But it was really fun. She was actually really good at Tetris and beat me most of the time. But hey, maybe we'll give it another go again someday, and we'll see if that still stacks up today. This one was $2. Okay, then we've got Hole-in-One Golf. Have never played this game. It's made by HAL America. I've definitely heard of the company, but I would expect it to be just your standard generic Super Nintendo golf game. But this one was 50 cents, so can't beat that, right? Okay, then we have ESPN Speed World. This one was actually made by Sony ImageSoft. Back before Sony was making PlayStations, they actually had their own gaming studio. This one came in at only $1, so for a $1 game. Typically, guys, just as a general rule, if it's a game I don't have, I'll probably buy it if it's like $1 or 50 cents or $1.50. Unless it's just something that I have absolutely no interest in whatsoever, which is really unusual. So I'm trying to round out the collection. If it's only $1, I'll get it, because hands down, it's going to be worth more than that online. So even if I wanted to resell it, I could probably double or triple my money. So it's all good. So for $1, ESPN Speed World, I'd imagine some kind of racing game or something. So we'll see. Then we got one that I probably have absolutely no intention of playing, guys, because I do not care for sports games as a general rule, especially the modern era sports games. I don't like them at all. Some of the older ones are okay, like the original black box titles like baseball, 10-yard fight, stuff like that. Some of those are okay. Tecmo Bowl, that was a really fun game. Most of them I think are just bleh. But anyways, so this one, this is actually definitely a series that carries on today. It's one of the biggest franchises in gaming history. Madden 93 for the Super Nintendo. This one was 50 cents. That's pretty much the only reason that I bought it. It's 50 cents for a game to add to the collection. Maybe we'll play it someday. I just don't really care for Madden games, but hey, if we get bored one day and we got a couple of beers or something, maybe we'll check out play this. We'll see. Then we got one that I actually had not heard of until I looked it up. Kablooey for the Super Nintendo. This one was $2, and the cheapest price that I could find for it online, I think, was $5 shipped. So I literally got it for less than half off. I don't really know much about it. It definitely looks interesting. It's not a generic game or a sporting game, and those are the kind of games that people usually like the offbeat stuff. So for $2, I think I got a pretty good deal. Then we got one that has definitely seen better days, and if it was not for the price, I would not have bought it. This one was 50 cents, and you can see some asshole, some punk kid, Mitchell's wrote his name on the game. It's Super Black Bass, and the label's a little bit torn up. Moore bought this one just to play it. I think I may have played this in my childhood once. But for 50 cents, it's a super beat-up game, so I think that's probably right about on point for what it should have cost. Okay, and then we got one that is literally useless without the attachment or controller or whatever you want to call it. SNES Super Scope 6. For any of you who don't remember the Super Scope 6, it was kind of the successor to the Nintendo, the Zapper gun. You held it on your shoulder, actually, kind of like a rocket launcher, and it had a little reticle that you could look through and things. And it was pretty advanced for its time. It was a lot more accurate than the original NES light gun. It came with a game, of course, in the Super Scope 6 games, 6 different games. And to be honest, they didn't really use it for all that many games. It was kind of like the light gun; it just kind of came and went. It never really took off. Light guns themselves, in the home entertainment system, they've never really taken off all that much. I mean, you could argue, that the Wii, which isn't really a light gun per se, but something like that, that might be filling the void for those things today. But I don't know. I've just never seen, a system where it's consistently been a performer amongst the titles. The controller titles, standard controller titles always seem to kick the light gun titles' butt. So, but whatever. Anyways, if I get a Super Scope 6 someday, I can play the original 6 games. So very cool. And finally, we have, this was actually the successor to a game that I have actually already on the Nintendo Entertainment System called Play Action Football. We have Super Play Action Football. Again, not a great game. It was 50 cents. Oh, by the way, Super Scope 6 was $1. Excuse me about that. But this one was 50 cents. So for that price, I think I got a pretty good deal. Again, it's in pretty good condition. Labels not in rough shape or anything like that. Even the back label's pretty good, actually. So for 50 cents, again, if I don't have it, I'll usually buy it. So, pretty sweet deal. And hell, if I have it, I may buy it again and just flip it and make a couple of bucks. Because collecting certainly isn't cheap. So, well, that about does it for this episode of Retro Game Haul. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys. I appreciate everyone who's tuning into this one. For those of you not in the know on these games, I hope your buddy Jimbo's giving you a little bit of a history lesson here into gaming history. Just filled you in on some of the stuff that happened before you were born, which I'm sure is a lot of you. I'm old. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode of Retro Game Haul.